Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video for Thursday, November 18th, 5 minutes after market close here in Jacksonville, Florida, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time to be exact. And today we've got some offensive selling we did in the portfolio. We've got some crypto cracking or starting to break down, and we've got small caps at an extremely pivotal level. We're going to talk about all of those things as we get into the charts here in just a second. Before we do that, what just happened? QQQ leads, as you can see on the performance there, initial weakness, bought this morning. We're going to look at that on the charts in a second here as well. G5, a laggard today, down 0.6%. ARKK, Kathy Wood ARK Fund, really being the main laggard there today. S&P up about 1/3%. Q's up about 1% to close over 400 today. It's a big deal. Dow down about 1/5%. Mid caps about the same, and the Russell 2000 down about 0.5%, but that's well off the lows of today. Like I said, initial weakness bought. Market state remains in an uptrend. There's no change there. There's also no changes to the trend gauge. Everything remains intact. Although we did have some indices flirting with the 21 today, and still are doing that. We're going to look at that. So we'll keep that in mind for the short term. There could be changes there possibly coming up. Depends on how these indices act at those levels. But market leaders remains bullish. Short, medium, and long term do remain bullish as well for the time being. Before we get to the charts, as I do in every video, let me reference the team here at Revere. If you have any questions, please email me, hunter@revereasset.com, regarding this video, regarding our company, whatever the case may be. Please send me an email, or you can reach out to anybody here, Dan, Tim, Merrill, Alex, or Don at revereasset.com as well. So S&P, like we said, up about 1/3%, dipped down below the 8 EMA, got back above it, still maintaining kind of the same distance from the moving averages, about 1.5 from the 21, about 4 to 5% from the 50s, kind of where we've been living here the last 4 or 5 days. The Qs, the leader for the day, like I said, closing above 400 for the first time. A big move for the Qs. Nvidia reported earnings yesterday, had a big move up today. We're going to look at that chart too. But no doubt playing a big role in this. And you can see the strength here from the Qs, maybe better than any other index after the pullback. So the Qs back above the 8, as we can see here, and then continuing their strength, the most extended of all the indices now. We did have small caps taking that crown for a little bit. Now it's the Qs. And let's go to the Dow, which actually broke below the 21 and reclaimed it. We talked about this being the weakest of the 5 major indices that we always talk about at the beginning of the show or the beginning of the video, and that's evidenced by where it was today, right? It broke below the 21. It did get back above it. That's a positive. Now we want to see it get back above the 8, but not very extended at all. You know, right on the 21, 2% above the 50. Mid caps also relatively close to the 21. This is important. The first pullback to the 21 after a breakout. Really, you could call this possibly a pullback to the 21 after a breakout, but it really didn't break out. It only went a couple of dollars above the previous high. This is more of a clean breakout, in my opinion. But MDY has been slightly ahead of IWM in regards to when it broke out. So I'd watch for this to hold at the 21. That's very important. And then IWM, I mentioned small caps at a pivotal level. That is this 234.53 area, right? So we undercut it today. We end up closing right on the 21, which just so happens to correspond almost directly with this previous high. So this 233 to 235 area is what I would call it, becomes very, very important. The lows of today become very important, as well as the highs of today and the highs of yesterday. So to the upside on small caps, I would look for it to move over 237, 238, and ultimately over 240 is really what you want out of the small caps to really leave this area back here behind. But to the downside, you want to watch today's lows, which is pretty much 233, and then it also corresponds to a lot of this previous resistance here. So IWM at a very important spot. You want to see that bounce get back above the 8-day exponential, which is right around 237, 238 as well. So let's quickly look at TLT to get a feel for what rates we're doing today. So we see TLT slightly up, a change in the trend, at least over the last 5 or 6 days. You can see it was down pretty significantly, meaning that rates were up. TLT climbing back up, getting back above the moving averages today. Additionally, you had the dollar down, which is typically more conducive for equities for the most part. This is a very strong move from the dollar, so the dollar now pulling back a little bit today. Let's get to some charts. Let's get to some of the stuff we did today. So I mentioned offensive selling. We sold some of our Roblox position, which had become our biggest position today. We trimmed that into this big strength. As you can see this morning, it was up closer to 138, and I'm going to pull up a 5-minute chart so you can see that. So we trimmed into this strength this morning and still have a relatively well-sized position left, but trimmed into this strength as it was spiking up very, very extended. Ultimately, it did come back throughout the day. As you can see, it came back from being up 10% to down 2%. So very, very volatile at the current time, but ultimately finished relatively well on Roblox. So we trimmed a little bit of that today. The metaverse stocks, very, very hot, very strong. You can see the RS line on Roblox going in a vertical line right there. Another member of this group, Unity, also very strong, up 5%, was up closer to 7 or 8 at one point. Big time volume on this name too. Similar RS line pattern, vertical on Unity. So metaverse stocks, very hot at the current juncture. Net, another one of our biggest holdings, showing nice RS today, up about 2.5%, was up close to 4% at its peak today. Just an unbelievable move from Cloudflare here over the last couple of months. AMBA, one of our semiconductor stocks we've been holding, we saw a nice little bounce off the 21, didn't get the close we wanted to, but for the time being, holding the lows of this day here, this 185 low, and staying above the 21, ready to see this thing get back above the 8 potentially. So AMBA holding up at the 21 today. Nucor, one of our recent buys in Grotection, up about 2.5% today, staying above the 21. You can see the cup and handle pattern rec here on MarketSmith. You want to see this continue, stay above the 21. These lows right here, all around 109-ish, very important. That 108, 109 area is very important on Nucor. Few more here. Nvidia, I mentioned reported earnings. One of our holdings in Grotection, up about 8 or 9% on the day, was up closer to 10 or 11 at one point. Nonetheless, a really positive reaction for Nvidia, which of course, boosted AMD. You can see AMD also up today, 2.5%. Another holding in Grotection. Apple also having a nice day. Some of the big tech, big cap names, mega cap names having a good day. So Apple up 3%, one of our holdings. Microsoft, not up as big as Apple, but having a nice day. Amazon also had a nice day today. So some of these bigger names, Shopify, so Amazon up about 4%, really strong move. Shopify continuing to act well here. And then lastly, Home Depot, another bigger name acting well, continuing its strong move after a earnings gap as well there. So a couple more here. XOP bouncing off the 50-day. Not the strongest finish to the day, but nonetheless a bounce. We'll see where it goes from here. Watch the lows of the day. Watch that 100 level here on XOP. Some of the members of this group to take a look at: Fang, Matador, SU, Suncor Energy. Some of those are in this group. XRT retail continues to be very strong. And then lastly, we did add back Tesla today with the second consecutive close above the 8-day exponential moving average, third close above the 21. So Tesla regaining some steam. One of the biggest, most liquid leading stocks in the market, if not the biggest, and the leader for the big liquid stocks. So Tesla added back. Ethereum and cryptocurrency as a whole, Bitcoin all getting hammered today. GBTC down about 3.5 off the lows, however. ETHE, Ethereum, similar story, about 4%. So some of these really getting hit. HUT, a Bitcoin miner I've talked about a little bit, down 7%, a little bit more volatile. They got hit harder today than the actual currencies did themselves. Mara was another one which appears to have some legal complications hanging over it as well. As you can see, this one actually bounced today, but has had a massive pullback, much more than crypto. Bitcoin's pulled back about 15% or so, I believe, from the recent high. Mara, a little bit more than that, from 80 to 50. So crypto stuff under some pressure. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Very important to see Bitcoin try and get back above the 21. Same for Ethereum. Bitcoin currently around 57K. I believe the 21 is closer to 61K. A few more losers today. Affirm, announced a secondary down big right at the 50-day moving average. Pretty pivotal spot here for a firm, in my opinion. Lending Club, a big winner recently. Nothing wrong with it per se, but it was down pretty big at one point this morning, about 5%. Closed right on the 21. Today's lows once again become really important on LC. TAN, a laggard today, right on the 21. MSOS, we sold this today. We talked about the big trend change. There was massive volume here, but nonetheless, there was no confirmation. If it gets back above all these and we see all the moving averages assimilate in the right order, we'll revisit it. But for right now, going back below all those moving averages, that 30 level was a really important level of support that was broken. So MSOS sold for us at the current juncture. OIH, one of the weakest today. Oil and gas services, just really a laggard today. And then that is pretty much it. So I know that was a lot of information relatively quick. I hope it was valuable to you guys, but a pretty good summation of what was really strong today. Like I said, we did some offensive selling. Crypto really facing some pressure, struggling today, and then small caps really at a pivotal level. I look for them to hold that 234, 235 area and possibly move back up towards 238 and 240. I think that would possibly be really good for the overall market, not just small caps as a whole. So thanks, everybody. I will see you on the podcast this weekend as well as on next Monday's video. I hope we all have a great weekend. Thanks.